Hey guys, and welcome to another video. My name is Brianna, for those who don't know, and as you can tell by the title of this video, I'm going to be telling you why I quit my job. So I'm just going to jump right into it. The very first and main reason why I quit my job is because my custody case with my son's father changed everything. It changed the trajectory of my entire life. It affected my livelihood, and it put me in a very difficult position. I had to make a lot of difficult decisions in my life. It wasn't 100% a career decision. It was a parenting decision. I felt like I was put into an impossible position. So let me just explain and give you all a little bit of backstory. I've been back and forth in custody court for the past 5 years now. It's been tough. I will be posting multiple videos just explaining exactly what I've been going through this custody case. So I'm not going to go into too much detail on the proceedings and who filed what and all the things, but for this video I will touch on a few things and instances which drove me to be in a position to have to leave my place of employment. So before I quit, I was working at a phone company, a very popular phone company, and I was making pretty good money. That was one of the most lucrative jobs I've ever worked in my career journey. I was making roughly around 50 to 70,000 depending upon. So I was technically making minimum wage. It was a minimum wage retail job. It was a phone store. But we also had the incentive of commission. So the commission was the thing that drove my income to places I didn't even think was possible in that particular field. And I loved it. It was amazing. I worked there for about 4 years before I quit. I quit back. I believe I started working there 2017, 2018, and I left 2022, the first quarter of 2022. The first few reasons was, again, I entered into a custody battle. And during that time, I was representing myself. I didn't really know too much about the law. And I wanted to be extremely careful with everything I did and said, because my son's father was extremely angry, extremely bitter, extremely abusive, and he was doing and saying and threatening a lot of different things to me during that time. Still to this day, he's still doing that, but at that time it was, what's the word I'm looking for? It was aggressive. It was very aggressive, and he threatened to use my job against me, basically. So at that time I had Luca full-time. The dad was not really helpful in taking care of him on a day-to-day basis. He would buy little things here and there, like every couple of months he would buy him a box of diapers or some clothes or socks, things like that. But he was consistently inconsistent. Let me just say that. He would come around whenever he felt like it. And I think he had an advantage with that type of behavior, because at the time I was using a babysitter, so to speak, that was a mutual friend of both of us. So I knew this mutual friend before he came. He's foreign, by the way. So before he came to America, I was already established with this friend. I had already had Logan going there pretty much every day and keeping Logan while I went to work. And then when Luca came along, I actually met Luca's dad through them. And so when Luca came along, I used this same mutual friend for care. So fast forward to the time where he threatened to use my job against me. Because the phone company has retail hours, they opened at around 9 and they didn't close until about 9. And so with that, obviously you can't really use practical child care, because usually licensed facilities, they don't stay open past 6 p.m. So you have to come and get your child by 6. That was literally impossible. So I was using the mutual friend because obviously, you know, it's a home setting. The hours are a lot more flexible. They were willing to work with me. So he said, you know, I'm going to take Luca from you because you don't have time for him. You're not a good mom. You don't have time for him. You work too much. And basically, I am a better fit parent because my job schedule, I get off at 3 p.m. and you don't get off until odd hours of the night. And that's just not good for our son. So with that, I got really scared because in a sense, he did have a point. He had a point. And again, I didn't know the law too much. So I got really scared and I'm like, oh my goodness, I need to leave because if we go to court and go in front of a judge and he says this, they're going to take Luca away from me. That's literally what I thought. I thought my son was going to get taken away from me because I worked. Obviously, that's not how custody works. I know that now, but at the time I did not know that. So aside from his threats to take Luca away from me, I also had some issues with the mutual friend because he was also going to the mutual friend, lying to them, telling them things like, oh, you know, Brianna's taking all of us to court, just lying. They're all foreigners, by the way. They're all from the continent of Africa, and they don't really have the law over there. It's very barbaric, I guess. So, and look, I'm just a messenger. Don't shoot me. I've never been, but this is what people from that particular culture are explaining, that court is just not something that they have access to as freely as we do here in America. So when they hear the word court, everyone gets scared. Everyone thinks they're going to go to jail for 30 years. And that is what my son's father successfully sold to the mutual friend that was taking care of our child. So it was already pretty shaky once court started. I was still using them. They were still open to allow me to keep my son there, Luca, but it was still just a little bit off. So already right there, it was just a shift in me even being able to have care for my kids outside of the threats coming from Luca's father. So, oh no, I dropped my Apple Pencil. It is getting kind of dark, but the lights from this Tesla is pretty helpful, and I'll turn my lights on soon once it gets too dark, but I mean the street lights help. So yeah, so that was that. And then I had to really sit down and think, okay, Brianna, what's your next move? How are you going to pivot from not only having to find alternative childcare, but also finding other employment so that you can still sustain custody of Luca? I really did not have a plan. I didn't have this long, concrete, drawn out plan. What I did know at the time in my personal life, I was working with my family, and I was informally learning real estate. So that knowledge that I had kind of enticed, it kind of sparked a passion that I never knew I had. I fell in love with real estate, the buying and selling of homes and different properties in different areas. And so at that time, I was already enrolled and signed up for real estate classes. I didn't really spend too much time. Like, I wasn't going every day, and it was an online course. So that took a few months to complete. So when all of that was happening with the job and everything, I was just like, you know what? How about I quit my job and I work on my real estate license? So that way I can make my own schedule. I won't have to worry about late hours with childcare. I can just take my kids to an actual licensed facility and still be able to pick them up by 6 p.m. So that was my initial plan. Luckily for me, I invested a lot of money from my paycheck towards my 401k, and the company at the time had a program where they help you invest it. So I had a lot of money in my 401k, I had enough money to last me about a year's worth of rent and bills and everything else that I needed to. It's about to storm. You all saw that? I think you saw that lightning. If it does storm, it's fine. It usually I'm in Florida. It usually only storms for a few minutes and then it stops. So if it does storm, we'll try to work through the thunder if it gets too loud, but I'm safe in my car. I'll just stay here until it stops. But anyway, so yes, that was the plan. I was going to take I cashed out my 401k, paid up my bills, and I just tried my best to focus on pivoting into real estate. What I didn't realize, and also I also used some of that money for an actual lawyer, because like I said, I felt like I bit off a lot more than I could chew. There was so much that I did not know, and I was scared. I was just afraid, and I didn't want to ignorantly lose something that was so precious to me, just based off my ignorance. So I ended up spending a few thousand, I would say 10 to 12,000, maybe even 14, on a lawyer, which I was not 100% satisfied with, let me be honest. And he helped me through a large portion of my custody case. I didn't use him for the entirety of it, but for a few months I did have representation. And it was helpful for establishing just a temporary order, getting child support, and just taking care of everything. Let me see. Do we really need this light right now? I feel like we don't really need it. But if it gets too dark, I'll cut that on. Let's see. I don't think we need it. I think we're fine here. So that was the plan. Once the lawyer that I paid for concluded his services, I literally ran out of money. And you know, I don't have a job at this point, so I didn't want to be frivolous and just throw away all my life savings on this lawyer when I still had to make sure I could sustain myself and my kids for however long I needed to, because I knew I was not going to be employed. And even with real estate, it takes a while, especially when you're new. It takes a while to build clientele, to make money, to make commission. Usually real estate is usually 100% commission, unless you're in an office doing desk work or something like that. So that is where I was with that. Fast forward to today. Right now, we are in 2026. So I basically been unemployed for 4 years now. I'm not bragging. It's been really difficult. I'm not going to lie. When I look back, would I have still quit my job? 100% yes. But I would have liked to have a little bit more. Anyway, yes. That you know, it's been tough. It's been really difficult because I'm still struggling with the childcare situation. I don't have support from my son's father. Obviously, he's still very bitter. Before I moved to Florida, we were sharing like a week on, week off situation. Once we went to court and he tried to convince everyone to just hate me, it was pretty much them only helping out with Luca during dad's week of custody. So when it was my week, I was still 100% on my own, trying to figure out everything. So it was really hard to work. Not only that, my oldest son, so yeah, where was I? So my son, who was also going to the mutual friend, stay with me. Remember, the mutual friend was keeping Logan first. And so when he got a little bit older, they also kind of kicked him out. They were like, hey, his behavior, I don't know if we can help you anymore. So when he was, I would say, turning 4, they were just like, we can't really help you. And that was also around the time where Luca was born. So they took Luca and then they told Logan, they basically kicked him out. And so I had to find care for Logan. I ended up putting him in preschool and things of that nature. So even with that, you know, it was inevitable for me to stay at that job anyway. I was going to have to leave one way or another. I just think with the whole custody situation, it prompted me to leave a little bit earlier than I was prepared for. Once I officially quit, I started to study for my real estate license. Had my oldest son in school. My youngest son, I put him in a regular nursery school, which was amazing. It was called La Petite. I loved that school. It was really nice, and I loved the curriculum and everything. So it seemed like it was working. Now here comes more drama, right? Once I quit and I went to court to say that. So basically I told Luca's dad, I'm like, well, now you can't use my job against me anymore because I left the job. So you can't just say, you know, my work hours are not conducive with parenting, because now I don't have a job and I'm studying to become a realtor right now. So that's what I'm doing. I'm just studying. You know, this man had the audacity to also complain about that. So then he went to court and he complained that I voluntarily impoverished myself. Basically what that means is that I quit my job on purpose so that I can seem to be in poverty in front of the court, so I can get more child support. And I'm like, oh my goodness, damned if I do, damned if I don't. I had no idea that was even a thing. I didn't even know all these legal terms. I had no idea. I'm so green and naive to anything that was happening. So when he accused me of that, I was just like, really? You're the one who told me I needed to stop working so much. Now you're mad that I'm not working as much because it affects child support. I really didn't know that. I mean, now I do. It's like, oh, okay. But so yeah, so now fast forward to 2026. I'm still not working. He's still using that same argument that she quit her job on purpose so she can extort, so I can extort the dad. Even though this entire time I've voluntarily accepted less child support than I'm supposed to get, like thousands of dollars less in child support monthly that I'm supposed to get. I left it on the table just to try to bring peace, to stop the arguments, to stop him using the fact that I quit my job on purpose. Like, I tried so many ways to help him understand that's not why I quit. You know, that's not why I quit. Nothing's working. He's still very angry and bitter. Fast forward to, so as of right now, 2026, it's still really difficult to find employment for me because my oldest son was not going to actual school. He was being homeschooled, and it was just, it just became overwhelming. I had to, once the lawyer left, once I ran out of lawyer funds, I was now representing myself in court, representing Logan as his educational advocate through his IEPs. I was trying my best to stay focused in real estate school and try to focus on that. I had so many emotions and that I had to respond to and keep up with the deadlines, and it was just so overwhelming to deal with life these past few years that I have not been working. And it was almost impossible for me to do that because all of my time went into all of those things. Homeschooling took a huge chunk of my day. Learning the law took a huge chunk of my day. Trying to focus on real estate, I really couldn't focus as much as I wanted to because I was trying to keep up with court and make sure that I have everything that I need for my children and for myself as I'm representing myself. So it has been a lot. All in all, I think I would be open to trying to work or do something, you know, while I'm deciding to see if both of my children can function in grade school at this point. They're both of school age. My oldest, Logan, obviously he's of school age. He's entering 4th grade now, and Luca can finally start kindergarten. He had a late birthday, so he'll be 6 in a few months, but he'll be starting kindergarten. And I just want to try to take advantage of the day, trying to make some sort of income. So if anyone has any suggestions, I've tried everything. During COVID, I had a friend who also worked at the same company as me. And during COVID, they put her as an at-home call center worker. So instead of being in the store handling sales, she pivoted to customer service, which she thought would be a lot more helpful because she also has 2 children. I think she has 2 girls. And with her situation, her kids were also home during COVID and they were on their laptops and they had to have the teachers, you know, teach them on the laptops. And she said that working from home was a nightmare, especially with the kids also at home. And I don't know if this is for every single company. I don't know if every company is like this as it pertains to customer service, but our phone company that we both worked at, you had to be in your seat the entire 8 hours of your shift. You got 2 15-minute breaks that they will time you on it. and then you got one paid 30-minute break for lunch that you clock out from your computer, and then you clock back in after the 30 minutes. After that, you are taking calls back to back to back to back. You only have about a 60-second window from when you end one call until you're picking up the next call. So it's not like you're just walking around in your pajamas. You have time to make yourself some coffee. You have time to help your child with a few math problems before you need to get back on a new call. It's not like that when you work from home. The company that I came from, and also the majority of the companies that offer customer service working from home, that is the setup. So it's so frustrating when people just tell me, oh, it's just no big deal, especially Luca's dad, like, oh, it's just no big deal, just work from home. Yeah, easier said than done. How about you try to work from home? And tell me how that goes. Unless you're in a situation where you're a manager and you just have to oversee some projects or something of that nature. But when you're just call center, customer service, which are mostly the stay-at-home positions, they're timing you. It's not like COVID anymore, where you just have all day to be frivolous. Like you really have to. It's really almost like you're in the office. You're not at home. So whoever is at home that needs your attention, they're going to have to wait until you clock out after those 8 hours, which was absolutely impossible with me being at home and also homeschooling. It was just impossible. Even if they were to go to school, you still have to be on the clock. You can't just stop or clock out to go pick your children up from school or aftercare and then bring them home and do all the things, and they still have the same retail hours. So it was just impossible. I also tried DoorDash. I tried DoorDash and Uber Eats. But my car is not, I don't own it. It's a lease, and they don't accept that for some reason. I guess for insurance purposes, I'm not really sure, but they don't accept leased vehicles to be a part of the Uber, Lyft, DoorDash platforms. Very unfortunate. So it's been really tough for me. I've been trying to hustle. Thankfully, I have an amazing support system. My personal family has been so helpful throughout this process, throughout these years, but it's also taken a toll on them, you know. My father, my mom, my bonus dad, siblings, like, you know, everybody has been trying their best to chip in to help sustain myself and my children over these past few years. But it comes to a point where it's like, okay, we can't just live like this forever, which is, again, this is another reason why I had to relocate, because Luca's dad knew all this. He knew that I was in this position with not being able to work. And every time I would tell him, like, hey, it's hard for me, I don't have any support, he would always just laugh, or he would just be like, that's what you get. You should have never taken me to court. This is on you. Figure out your own life. It was really tough. And let me just circle back to when we first settled. So when we first settled, it was about a year after we had a temporary order where Luca's dad had just weekends. And we settled with him agreeing to take my oldest son, Logan. And for me, it was so shocking that he even offered that. Anyone that offers to take care of another man's child, especially when we're not married, or you know, we were not planning on getting married after the whole court situation blew up. We talked about it previously and during my pregnancy, but when we realized we are not a match for each other, we concluded that chapter of our lives, and it was not on our radar for marriage. So for someone to come and say, okay, yeah, I'll take care of your oldest son because I know you need help and I want to keep the siblings together. You know, that's his brother. He's been around him his whole life and it's really important. So when he offered that, I was already kind of skeptical, but I wanted to trust him. And I naively did. I trusted him to keep his word. I was like, okay, I would appreciate that if you kept him, because he had a lot of support. His mom was on his way here, so I knew she would be at home and willing to care for both of my sons, and he didn't have to offer that. So when we finally finalized everything and signed everything, and it went into a consent order, we agreed that Logan and Luca were going to go with him for 1 week and be with me for 1 week. Go with him for 1 week and be with me for 1 week. So during that entire week is when they were not with me, that was going to be the time where I was going to work. And my plan at that time, when I based everything on him helping me, that was going to be when I was going to work. So I was only going to work 2 weeks out of the month, and I was planning on doing substitute teaching. I don't know if it's the same everywhere, but in the county that I lived in Maryland, you could pick whatever days you want to substitute. Just like every day, you can just sign up that morning. You don't even have to, it's really easy to just become a substitute teacher. It's actually kind of scary, by the way. Like, don't you want to do an extensive background check, like make sure the people you're hiring aren't felons or whatever? I mean, I'm pretty sure they did do a background check and fingerprints and all the things, but it's really easy to become a substitute teacher. So that was the plan. After we settled, literally 1 week after settlement, he told me that he is no longer willing to take Logan with him, and I was devastated. And I was just like, what are you talking about? Like, okay, I mean, I'm not going to force you. That's not your son, and you don't have to. But why did you tell me that? I'm sitting here for months. I've been mentally preparing Logan to go to this man's house and helping him understand that things are going to be different. He's going to stay with his brother at his dad's house for a week. And he just completely flipped, like a 360, a 180 flip. Oh my gosh. It was so devastating for my entire household. It got so bad to the point where his siblings had to intervene on my behalf and the behalf of Logan. It was that bad. They were just like, absolutely not. You're not going to do this to an innocent child. And you know what he said the reason was? He was like, yeah, this is my revenge. This is my revenge, and you're going to feel it because I'm going to make you pay for taking me to court. He said those exact words to me in front of his siblings, by the way. We were all on a conference call, and it was his brother, it was myself, and it was Luca's dad. And he said it. He was like, yep, this is revenge, right in front of his brother. And his brother was just like, oh my goodness. Oh my. He was so speechless. He couldn't even say anything. But he was just like, his siblings were just like, no, we're not on your side with this. So they ended up taking Logan anyway. Aside from Luca's dad saying no, I said he can't come. So they took Logan for about 1 month. And this was around the time where I'll actually post a video. I will post a video here of when I have recorded some YouTube videos during that time. I think I went to Ulta. I have a vlog channel, by the way, for those who don't know. I have a vlog channel, and when I did a vlog by myself of me driving 40 minutes to Ulta or something like that, that was around the time where both of my kids were actually with Luca's dad. And it was because the siblings had fought for that to happen, because he had already said no by that time. So the first month went okay. I wasn't talking to Luca's dad because, again, he was furious that his siblings went against him and that he still didn't succeed with his revenge, so to speak. So I wasn't talking to him the entire month. Logan and Luca was with him and, the family. And mostly because I knew that he wasn't really the person taking care of them anyway. It was usually the siblings, like the grandma, the brothers, the sisters, etc. It wasn't even him. He was off in the streets playing soccer, at work, wherever he was. He really wasn't the one taking care of them for day to day. After that last week, that's when Luca's dad came back and was like, I told you I'm not taking him. The only way I'll take Logan, this is what he said, is if you give me full custody of him. Well, like basically the same thing that we had with our son. Like, give me joint custody of Logan and pay me child support for Logan also. Because and I think that's another reason why he was mad. Somebody probably got into his ear and was like, how did you agree to take her son and you're also still paying her child support for your son? And I was like, yes, I think I put that in place, or I kept that provision because, again, I wanted to trust him, but I still didn't trust him fully because I'm just like, something's up. I agreed to take almost half of what I was supposed to take in child support when we settled the first time because he was agreeing to take Logan. So for me, it's like me saying, okay, instead of, I don't remember the exact amount, but if instead of paying me $2,500, give me $800 a month. That's a significant difference than what you're actually supposed to give me. So I felt like it was a win-win because just because you're agreeing to take Logan, it doesn't negate your responsibility to Luca, your own son. So that was my thinking behind it. And also me taking significantly less was ideal because at any moment legally he's not obligated to take care of Logan. He didn't have to do that. So at any moment he could have just changed his mind and just been like, I don't want to take Logan anymore, which is what he did anyway. And then I would have been stuck having to relitigate and go back to court because I had no child support. So that's just something that I was not willing to bring child support all the way down to zero. But I did agree to take significantly less because he was agreeing to take Logan. And literally 30 days later, he sent Logan right back home, which is what I thought was going to happen anyway. Again, he said it was for revenge. We ended up having to relitigate, go back to court for not only him not paying what he was supposed to pay in child support, but also he just kept sabotaging Luca's child care. He kept doing things on purpose to get Luca kicked out of all the schools that I tried to put him in. Again, because he was trying to make it so I would not be able to work. Even if I wanted to try, he just kept getting Luca kicked out of school. So then Logan was home, then Luca was home. I couldn't work. It was really sad. It was really sad that I had to deal with that when I was trying my best to get back on my feet. I did quit my job, but I tried my best to find more, other employment. I couldn't because he just kept sabotaging childcare. He kept laughing about it. He kept saying, that's what you get. It's your fault. If you can't be a mom, give me our son indefinitely and go live your life and do whatever you want. But clearly it seems like you don't know how to be a mom because you can't even get a job. It's just so easy. And if you can't get a job, then work from home. Like these are the things that he's telling me. Like, oh, just because I'm get Luca kicked out of school, that doesn't mean you can't work. I mean, that was his logic. That was his logic of thinking. So yes, I had to, the first time I was, oh, someone's calling. Hold on. So anyway, that is where I've been since I've been in Maryland for the past few years. So being able to step away from all of that back and forth and the arguments, the inability to work, it has just taken a huge weight off my shoulders. Even though I'm still not working now, I just got here, so I'm still, getting settled and everything, but it has been so much relief in everyone's life. My life, Luca's life, Logan's life. Everyone's happier and the weather's better. And this has been a blessing. But yes, obviously I do have to make multiple videos of my custody because, again, it's been years. It's been 5 years. So I know I won't be able to fit the entirety of what's been happening through this custody battle in one video. Just this alone, we're already at 20-30 minutes. I don't know, after I edit it down. Hopefully it's less time, but this is just specifically on the subject of me quitting my job and what led me to there. There's still so many other layers to what has been happening over the past few years that I will get to in separate videos. If you're interested in hearing a little bit more detail about the custody proceedings and everything that I had to go through with representing myself alone and also when I was represented by counsel, just stay tuned because I will be uploading those videos very soon. So yes, I am going to end out the video right here because it is getting a little bit longer than I anticipated, but I do appreciate you all for listening and taking a moment to be kind, because I know the first thing in the comment section, you can just work from home, I do it all the time and I have kids and you can do this and it's just so easy. And it's okay, Come and walk a mile in my shoes. Come, please. Come on. Let's switch. Let's switch for a moment so you can see that it is easier said than done, okay? So please, I don't want to hear those comments of like, you're just not trying hard enough. No, but if you do have genuine suggestions, I'm not talking about the trolls or the haters, but if you've heard this video and you have genuine suggestions on alternative methods to creating multiple streams of income outside of a 9-to-5, or if you have any insight of flexible 9-to-5s that are a little bit more family friendly than the ones I just explained, please feel free to share them in the comments below. I would love to hear you all suggestions. If you're new to my channel, or if this is the first video you clicked on, welcome. Again, I'm Brianna. I do family vlogs. So if you like vlogs, check us out. We vlog. We've been trying to do daily vlogs, but I'm going to change that. Instead of daily vlogs, I'll say daily post, because this is a video that I'm posting and it's not a vlog. And you probably won't get a vlog out of me today since this is the video that I'm posting, but tomorrow we're vlogging, and hopefully every day for the remainder of this month I've dedicated to posting every single day. I'll definitely have some more story times and some updates on custody and what I've been going through, so please stay tuned for that. Thank you guys so much for watching. Again, don't forget to respect your elders, and until next time, people, take care, God bless, and have a greater life. Bye.